Well, there's a big rush getting a book on the bestsellers list. I mean, seeing your author's book in print. Every author I work with may or may not like me at first. I'm very abrasive. Oftentimes when people meet me, I'm young, you know, and I'm a little bit manic, and so people don't always like my personality up front. But over time, they get to know me and the tenacity I'm bringing to the table, and then once they get their book on the bestsellers list, they like me at the end of the process anyway. All is forgiven, yes. It's okay. He may be the most abrasive person you'll ever work with, but he gets it done, and that's all that matters. Once I'm able to deliver a best-selling book for them, yeah, I'm their best friend for life. Generally, what I do is I help information-based business owners use their book as a way to promote their business. Other than perhaps winning the Nobel Prize or the Pulitzer, there's nothing better than getting on the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, or USA Today or Business Week bestsellers list. As an example, I worked on a book by Jordan Rubin. He's the owner of a nutraceuticals business called Garden of Life, and he needed to elevate his expertise in that market, and the way he did that was by promoting his book, The Maker's Diet. He was able to increase his product sales by elevating his expert status in that Christian market, to leverage that to do a number of other things with other Christian experts. Another example would be Roy Williams. Before Secret Formulas was on the bestsellers list, he was charging $5,000 a seminar. Afterwards, he was charging $20,000 a seminar. That first year after getting his book onto the bestsellers list, Roy did about 55 seminars that year because he was a New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller. I cheat. I look for winners. You've got to have either a lot of money or a large platform. Most of the authors I work with come to me and they have a platform, which is a name and reputation within a given industry or niche, and an ability to capitalize on that name and reputation in not only the generation of sales, but the generation of retail sales, because to get a book on the bestsellers list, the sales must go through a retail bookstore. The reason that a marketing platform is so important is that in the dictionary, where does it say publish equals marketing? It doesn't. Publishers should be doing what I'm doing. The problem is that publishers are afraid to educate their authors that it's the author's responsibility to market books. There's still this idea that if you've got a great book that says something new or something great, that a publisher is going to pick it up and market it. That's not the case, but publishers want to give that impression still. Last year there were 197,000 books published. The average retail bookstore only carries 100,000 titles. Of those 100,000 titles, 70 to 80%, so 70 to 80,000 are what we call backlist titles. Backlist titles are your perennial bestsellers, your classics, and last year's bestsellers. So if there were 197,000 books published last year, that means between 160 and 170,000 books never made it onto a retail bookstore shelf. The first thing that authors have to realize is that their book doesn't sell just because it's a good book. You need to have distribution. On top of the distribution, you have a marketing plan that will generate traffic into the stores specifically to buy your book. If you talk to a publisher, they'll understand if we've got this great design and this great distribution, that increases the chances that the book's going to sell. And so that's what a publisher really does well. But as far as the mechanics of actually getting people into the store to buy the book, I think that's a bit of a mystery to even publishers. You could certainly get lucky. I mean, if you make it onto Oprah, sure, you could have a book that sells very, very well. But I prefer to be calculated, making marketing decisions that we know will impact the sale of the book, versus trying to be lucky. I know how the industry works better than most anyone else. I most certainly understand it better than any author or any other PR firm. What I bring to the table is having worked with 18 different authors and pushing each of their books onto the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and Business Week bestsellers list. It doesn't guarantee that a book's going to make the list, but it gives us our best opportunity because we're playing the game more efficiently than anyone else. Again, as I said, I stack the deck. in favor of the book. I'm looking for a select group of authors to work with. I'm looking for authors who are on the crux of being bestsellers, who need that extra guidance, that proven track record, and the industry insider knowledge. So I require that they spend between $100,000 and $150,000 on PR, that they guarantee that they will pre-sell 15,000 books. So if you have a well-written book that you really believe in and you're willing to get out on the road and properly promote, then you're an author for me.